Hi, I'm Campbell Choate here with Frankie DeJesus and Caleb Weber, and this is Beyond the Sidelines. First up, Julian Edelman has officially retired from being released from the Patriots. Guys, what do you think?
Frankie, you can take it away.
Julian Edelman's always been a great player in the playoffs. This is, the type of guy you want on your team when, the game's on the line. All around, he was a great player, great career. He's always been a little off in the regular season, but, when Tom Brady needed him the most in the playoffs, he clutched up. So.
Yeah, he's a great player, and he always produced when it came down to it. In the playoffs, and especially in the Super Bowl, win that one Super Bowl MVP. But Edelman was just always kind of an average player. He was good when it came down to it in the playoffs, like I said. But the Patriots aren't really losing anything from him where he's at in his career at this point.
Next up, Browns reportedly are the favorites to sign Jadeveon Clowney. Guys, what do you think?
I think it'll be a good signing for the Browns if they can bring him in. Clowney is a guy who rushes the passer. He gets sacks. He makes athletic plays because he's an athletic guy. But he's never been a consistent guy being able to go out there for 3 downs. And I think that's why he'll work so well with the Browns, because they have so many great pass rushers that he can just sub in. And so Clowney will be able to get his breaks in and be able to rush the passer on important downs.
Yeah, I agree. I think Clowney's never been very consistent with his rushing and sacks and everything. Number 1 pick in the NFL draft a couple years ago, but he hasn't been that consistent. He's bounced around a little bit. But no, I think he'd be a great addition to the Browns. Maybe that final piece for them to make a Super Bowl run, but we'll see how it works out.
Next up, Warriors rookie James Wiseman suffers meniscus injury and is out for the season. Frankie, how do you think this will affect the Warriors?
The Warriors, they have an MVP Curry right now. They've already had a lot of injuries, Klay Thompson. I feel like their team is not really put together like they were a couple years ago. Wiseman, he's had a solid rookie season, and I think it's going to hurt the Warriors a little bit. We'll see how they turn out in the future.
I think it does hurt the Warriors, but Wiseman wasn't playing outstanding. He was playing good, giving good minutes, but he wasn't polished. And I think a guy like Kevon Looney can step in, he can play that minutes, and they'll work around it with some small ball. And I think they can still fight for that playing spot in the West. So I'm not sold out on the Warriors yet.
Celtics go on historic 31-3 run to beat the Nuggets. Guys, what do you think?
The run was pretty insane. The Celtics blew the doors open on the Nuggets. The Nuggets had a lead, and watching the guy, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Kemba, they all just went in. Nuggets couldn't get a stop and they couldn't score. It's simple as that.
All right, time for some argumentative topics. First up is Julian Edelman, a Hall of Famer. Caleb, what do you think?
I do not think Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer. When Julian Edelman comes to mind, you think great playoff moments, comes up clutch, but he's never a guy that's produced stats in the regular season, which is needed to become a Hall of Famer. And when guys like Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne aren't in the Hall of Fame, Julian Edelman just doesn't deserve a spot.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think in Tom Brady's eyes, maybe Julian Edelman is a Hall of Famer, but, he's never really produced in the regular season. Always been great in the playoffs, great in the Super Bowls, but I just don't think he has that edge to be a Hall of Famer.
Next topic, where is the best fit for Penae Sewell? Caleb, what do you think?
I think Penae Sewell will be a top 5 pick in the draft, but best fit, I think the Miami Dolphins at 6. They're a young, upcoming team, almost made the playoffs last year. Now, they could build up some line depth took Austin Jackson in the first round last year from USC, and he didn't really play all that well, young guy, but just a guy for the Dolphins who will come in, he can play a tackle position, he can play guard, and I think Penae will fit really well with the Dolphins.
I think all around he's a great player. He's balanced in every aspect of being a lineman. I think the best fit for him might be either the Dolphins, like you said. He could go to the Jags. You never know. What if they don't pick up quarterback? You know, he could go number 2. You never know. He could go to the Bengals. There's just a lot of places that I think he'd fit really well in. You know, he's all-around great player, and we'll see how he plays in the regular season.
All right. Is Zach Wilson really the second best QB in the draft? Frankie, what are your opinions?
So Zach Wilson, I've had my opinions, on Justin Fields. People think it goes Lawrence, Fields, and then Wilson. I think Fields is a great quarterback, but I think Zach Wilson has that edge on him. He's a clutch player. He played great at BYU, and I think when I see an NFL quarterback, I think of Zach Wilson, and I just don't think Justin Fields fits that part. So I think Zach Wilson is second best QB in the draft.
I do not think Zach Wilson is the second best QB in the draft. I'd have to side with Justin Fields. I think everyone kind of thinks of Justin Fields and thinks they're overrating him when I don't think they are at all. I think he would be a number 1 pick in a million other draft classes if there wasn't a Trevor Lawrence. And so he's an athletic guy who comes up clutch and he produces. So I'd have to side with Justin Fields over Zach Wilson, but they're pretty interchangeable to me.
I don't see Justin Fields as an NFL quarterback. I see him more of a college quarterback. And you could say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. You could say he had a great system behind him, and you can say the same thing about Zach Wilson. But I just don't see Justin Fields being an NFL quarterback. When I think of an NFL quarterback, I think of Zach Wilson, someone who can step up in the pocket and launch the ball, and I think he'd be a great fit for any NFL team.
I think Justin Fields can launch the ball maybe a little less than Zach Wilson, but Justin Fields is definitely more of a scrambler. He can get out the pocket. Even though Zach Wilson can do that, I think Justin Fields can do it a little bit better, and I still think he can lead an NFL offense.
Next topic. Will the Lakers make one of the top 6 spots, or will they fall to the play-in games without AD and LeBron? What do you guys think?
I definitely think the Lakers will make one of the top 6 spots still. Even though they don't have LeBron or Anthony Davis, they still have good guys, a veteran team. They can go out there, win games, like you saw a couple of days ago when they beat the Nets with all their top players. So I think they'll be wishy-washy. I think they'll still stay in the top 6, even though they are missing some guys.
I'm a little iffy on this one. We've talked about this before. I think best 2 players in the NBA goes LeBron, Anthony Davis. And you can fight me on that one, but I think it's correct. And I think it's going to be hard, without your 2 best guys, to make a playoff spot. And don't get me wrong, they're playing great right now. Not playing great, but they're playing decent for what they have. They're working with it. So I think it's going to be tough. I think they could do it, but without your 2 best guys, it's going to be a challenge.
All right, time for some game picks. First game, Nets versus 76ers. Frankie, who's your pick?
I think this would be a great, fun game to watch. It could go either way. It's an NBA basketball game, but, I think the Nets are a better team. I think they look better, and, they have their guys back, so I'm going to have to go Nets.
These are 2 teams fighting for the number 1 seed in the East, and I think it's going to be a close game through and through, but I'm going to have to go with the 76ers, just playing as a team basketball, and they're going to get the win.
Next game, Mavs versus Grizzlies. Caleb, who's your pick?
I'm going to go with the Grizzlies here. They're playing great basketball. bringing up the stretch. I think they're making a push to get in the playing game, and John Morant going to carry the team over the Dallas Mavericks.
I've talked down on the Mavs in the past, but I think they have this one in the bag. I mean, Luka, I've talked down on him too, but I think he's playing great right now. I think he's proven me wrong, and I think he could put up a couple buckets against the Grizzlies.
Next game, Bucks versus Hawks. Frankie, who's your pick?
I want to say Bucks in this game, but I like the Hawks. I love Trae Young. I think people underrate him a little bit, because of his size. He might not be the best defensive player, but offensively he's a beast. He can make buckets. He reminds me of Steph Curry, and Steph Curry was an MVP, so I have the Hawks.
I'm going to have to go with the Bucks here. They just have a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo who I don't think the Hawks have a single guy who can guard him there. And I think the Hawks, young team, they can come out slow. I think this will be a blowout win for the Bucks.
Next game, Celtics versus Lakers. Frankie, who's your pick?
I'm going to have to go Celtics on this one. That run they had against the Nuggets, I think Lakers aren't going to be able to stop anything even close to that. And I love the young core of the Celtics. I think they'll blow out the Lakers. It'll be a blowout win.
I also think the Celtics will win this game. Lakers is out. Anthony Davis and LeBron. They won't be able to handle Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think it'll be a close game, though, because Lakers veterans.
Next game, Nets versus Heat. Caleb, who's your pick for this game?
I'm going to have to go with the Nets. I picked the Sixers in the first game with the Nets. The Heat just can't contain Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving.
I'm going to have to go with the Heat with this game. I love the Heat. I think Jimmy Butler, most competitive player in basketball, in my opinion. I think he'll put up some good defensive plays against the Nets, and it's gonna be a tough game for them. But I feel like they could pull it out.
All right, Jazz versus Lakers. Caleb, who's your pick for this game?
Easily the Utah Jazz. They're just a sound basketball team, and when you're missing your best two players, you can't beat sound basketball. The Jazz will play a steady game, pick and rolls. Gobert will have a nice game. Donovan Mitchell will cook the Lakers, and it'll be an easy win for the Jazz.
I'm going to have to agree. I think the Jazz, they are playing amazing. They have everything going right for them. I just, like you said, I just don't see the Lakers, putting up many points against a team like the Jazz without their two best scorers. And so I'm going to have to say Jazz.
Next up, Warriors versus Celtics. Frankie, who's your pick for this game?
Wiseman's out. You still have an MVP Curry for the Warriors, but, I don't think it's going to do it against this hot Celtics team, so I'm going to have to go Celtics.
I'm going to disagree here and have to go with the Warriors. Stephen Curry is easily moving his way up the MVP charts, and he's dropped 30 points in his last 9 games. I think he'll do it again here against the Celtics, and they'll get the win.
All right, next game, Clippers versus 76ers. Caleb, who's your pick for this game?
I'm going with the 76ers again. I love this team. I think they're great. I think they'll make a deep run in the playoffs this year. And I think it'll be close with the good perimeter defenders that the Clippers have. But I think Embiid in the post will dominate anyone they put on him.
I'm going to have to go Clippers in this game. I think their defense is going to be way too much for the 76ers. The Clippers, they have Kawhi. I think one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. I think he's going to stop anyone who's on the three or even inside the paint. So I have Clippers.
All right, last game, Nets versus Heat. Caleb, who's your pick for this game?
I'm going to have to go with the Nets. The big three they have, it's undeniably the best on-paper team in the NBA. And I think the Heat can play them close. I think the Heat, they're a gritty team. And even though the Nets have more star power, being gritty can always keep you in a game. but the star power will overpower the Heat.
I think it's going to be really, really close. The Heat, everybody likes to underrate their defense. I think their defense isn't bad. I'm going to say Nets, though. I agree with you. I think, the Nets, their whole roster is just amazing. And I think the offense is going to overpower that, that solid, mediocre-ish Heat defense. And I think it'll be a Nets win.
Thank you so much for watching. Once again, I'm Campbell Choate, joined with Frankie DeJesus and Caleb Weber, and that was Beyond the Sidelines.